Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Plants vs Zombies. In the last episode, we just finished the 110 level, which was a mini-game level, and if you look, it now says level 2-1 for adventure, which means we have now managed to make it to, well, 2 as I call it. It is now night time. Evening, Vasard. Those zombies just won't let up, will they? And yes, that is how you pronounce my channel name. You'll notice that fighting zombies at night is different than in the day. For one, you won't get any sun falling from the sky. You can still get sun from sunflowers though, and lucky for you, you got yourself some puff shrooms. Plant as many of those as you can, and you'll be A-O good. Okay, so I'm just going to start by saying I know that my channel name is weird and confusing to pronounce. It comes from my favourite show when I was a kid, and still one of my favourite shows to date. It was a show on CBBC called Raven, where it was a game show based on medieval, and my whole username and stuff has come from my favourite contestant on that show, but because I was very young at the time, I couldn't remember how it was spelt, so it is absolutely botched on how you're supposed to spell it, which is honestly completely fine with me because it's basically made my own twist on it. Those of you who are curious, the contestant on the show comes from Series 7. But for this episode, it's now nighttime, so things work a little bit differently. Crazy Dave mentioned that there's now no sun from the sky, and we also have graves that are now on our lawn, which we can't plant on those. So puff shrooms are a little bit interesting, let's just say. They're free, which is great, because you can't beat night levels without them. But they don't reach very far, is their downside. This first level at night is an absolute pain, by the way. It's really slow because we're forced to use sunflowers as we don't have a certain plant, which luckily we unlock in this level. But, again, back to the thing I was mentioning about my channel. I know that my username is weird and I know that I spelled it wrong, but part of that is due to me being, well, the easiest way to say it is I'm on the neurodivergent spectrum, which I didn't even know I was on it until after I finished uni, which is kind of annoying really, because I wish I'd known, because I could have got help with my education, but it should have been obvious because I struggled to pay attention to topics that didn't interest me. I hyper-focus on stuff that does interest me. Oh, that was a misclick. First misclick of the play, well, second technically. Yeah, misclicking is something that happens a lot in this playthrough. It's fine though, because I was going to put the sunflower there anyways, but being neurodivergent has made me honestly realise just a couple of things, like the education system really, in my opinion, needs to change, especially in the UK. But at least people who also are neurodivergent will get help that they needed now that there's more awareness about it, because when I was in school there really wasn't that much awareness about it at the time. But I've still proven I can still live in society even with, well, to put it lightly, I have ADHD. Also, this is the first level where we start getting coins. Oh, we also have a new zombie, the newspaper zombie. But I didn't know I had ADHD until I'd finished uni, when someone basically told me that I should probably get myself tested. Newspaper zombies start off slow. When you destroy their newspaper though, they get really angry and then they run to get as close to your house as they can. They're really not that big of a deal. But anyways, case in point, I keep getting sidetracked. That's another thing that I do all the time, is I just get sidetracked. I used to feel bad about having ADHD, but as you get older, you realise as well. It is kind of annoying that I only found out shortly after finishing or dropping out of my uni course because of the pandemic, as I mentioned in the previous episode. But it's gotten a lot easier to live with it now, and hey, I've still managed to find work. I've got a very supportive workplace as well that understands. And again, I'm also very thankful for my workplace, because a lot of the higher-ups were very nice as well. And it's nice that they care, because quite a few workplaces I've heard horror stories from. Like working in retail, I could never do that because people would not take me seriously, I feel, and they wouldn't treat me with decent respect. Plus, people who work in retail have my utmost respect, because you get some of the worst people that society has to offer who don't even treat you as human. So to anyone who does work retail, my hat's off to you. You deserve a lot more respect and credit than people give you, which is why I try to be as nice as I can to people in retail. Just, if you have an issue with something, don't blame it on the poor people who work at retail. Also, we got the Sun Shroom, and hey, you've collected $290 in coins so far. When you collect $750, I'll sell you something really neato. So, we also got Sun Shrooms, which are basically going to be replacing sunflowers in the night levels. You can still use sunflowers, I highly advise against it though. But anyways, back to the whole topic of retail. There is no way I would have been able to cope in retail. I would have probably got very angry with people taking their frustrations out on me, and I don't think I would have coped. But my job, it's much better because people rarely take their anger out on, well, the instructors running the activities. And at the end of the day, most people who do the activities know that they're here to enjoy themselves. So if you're going to be disrespectful to the people who are allowing you to do these activities, it's not going to end very well, is all I'm going to say. Because one of the things that we can do when we run a session is we are ultimately in charge of safety, and if we feel that a session is not safe, we can just say we're ending the session because it's not safe. It's very rare that this will have to happen. But, for example, if we're running a high rope session and there are people who are constantly trying to undo their safety harness, that's pretty much going to cause the session to be ended, because they're putting themselves at risk, and at the end of the day, we're not going to allow something like that to happen. But I've never had to end a session myself. I got very close to ending a session once because the group I had were very disrespectful and were not listening to instructions at all, as well as the fact that I told them several times what they needed to stop doing, and they just didn't. And of all activities, it was one of the more safe sessions to run. But I didn't end the session, because eventually they did start, you know, behaving. But for context, it was an activity known as low ropes, which is basically a teamwork activity where instead of it being high up, you're low down on the ground, so people who do the activity are basically tasked to work together to get over the many obstacles on the course. It's kind of like an obstacle course, but slightly different. The problem with the group was they were constantly pushing each other off of the benches that we have at the end, and the rules is that they have to wait on the bench for the whole group to get over so that they can do it together, because usually we only have one instructor per session, so we have to make sure that we do something known as spotting, which is where we are standing behind the person on the obstacle so that they don't fall off and get an injury. It's also why they have to wear a helmet, and this is the thing I get asked all the time, which is, why do we have to wear a helmet? Because it's very easy to bump your head on it, and if you fall off an obstacle, you land on the ground, we don't want you getting a head injury. But the group that I had were constantly pushing each other off of the obstacles. I told them several times to stop doing it, and they didn't. And it got to the point where someone pushed another person off one of the obstacles just as they were about to step onto the bench at the end. The person got pushed off of the obstacle, and if it wasn't for their helmet, they would have bumped their head on the side of the obstacle. And that's when I basically had to give them the ultimatum of, if you don't stop doing this, I'm going to have to cancel the session, because it's not safe. If they weren't wearing a helmet on, they could have got a very serious injury from that. And that's just how it is around the workplace. Don't get me wrong, it's a really fun job to work, and I absolutely love my workplace. And I'm very lucky I got this opportunity to work here. But there's going to be times where you get people who are, let's just say, a bit difficult to work with. But after I gave them the ultimatum saying that if they kept misbehaving, the session was going to end, they suddenly behaved. And again, I don't like having to give the ultimatum, but it needed to be done that day. Because of all activities, I didn't think low ropes would be the one where it would be to the point where I nearly have to cancel the session. And again, it is very rare that a session does get cancelled. It's only when the group are that misbehaved or that disrespectful. And it's usually, you'd think it's weird, it's usually older groups where it happens. It's usually when we get teenagers or secondary school age kids where the sessions usually have to get cancelled because they're very misbehaved most of the time. It's not all of them, but it just happens. But heck, it's not even that. Usually as well, sometimes adults can misbehave and not follow instructions because they think they know better. But anyways, it is what it is. At the end of the day, the session still continued on. I didn't end the session because, like I said, they continued behaving, or they started behaving rather, after I gave them the ultimatum. And that is the only time I've had to use that ultimatum on the job. There was a time where I did have to ban certain people from sessions, especially in archery, because people love to just not behave in archery for some reason when it's not their turn. We have a golden rule, which is you're not allowed to pass the barricade until you've been told to do so, and I'm way more stricter than most of the other instructors here, but that is for a very valid reason, which I'm not going to go into details to because I'd rather not say what happened, especially over the internet. But anyone at my workplace knows what happens, basically. But in archery I'm super strict because, yeah, it's one of the most dangerous activities we run, and if people aren't following safety protocols, then it's just not going to go very well. Anyways, enough about that workplace. That's going to be the conversation topic, which is just workplace in general. Next up we have the fume shroom. I'm going to do one more episode, or not episode, one more level, and then I'm going to call it. We have a new zombie, the screen door zombie, which has a massive weakness to the new fume shroom that we just got, so we will be using the fume shroom. I don't actually use the cherry bomb much at night, so I'm going to put that away. So yeah, it looks like we're only able to do 3 levels per video, and that's going to soon go down to just 2 once we get to World 3. Excuse me, just had to mute my mic because I coughed quite loudly. Didn't want that to get picked up. Fume shrooms, basically, they pierce certain defense. They don't work on bucket head or cone head zombies, but they work on the screen door shield zombies. So, anytime you see screen door shield zombies on a night level, you pretty much need fume shrooms. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to defeat them because they're just as strong as a bucket head with the screen door. I want to say, actually, I think they're slightly stronger. I think they're in between the bucket head and something that we haven't seen yet. Okay, and I know this sounds weird, but I'm actually going to dig up the puff shrooms and put the fume shrooms there. I'm having repeaters at this row here, just because they can reach further. Fume shrooms can't reach all the way. If you put them at the very back of the level, they only reach to about, let's say in the middle row. I think if I put it where the very left, oh, sorry, it's a column, not a row. So the middle row, and the column at the very left side, so you can see it can't reach all the way, and it's only just started attacking now. We'll dig up this one. Conehead zombie, eh? It's not terrible. I'm putting another mushroom here. Ah, there's our first screen door shield zombie. So that's going there. Otherwise that thing will get straight to the lawnmower, because our mushrooms are not strong enough to get rid of those zombies naturally at the moment. Yeah, you got to be careful with screen door zombies, because it's very easy to accidentally throw an entire level to them. And fume shrooms are really only useful for screen door zombies, so they're, again, average when it comes to plants. Puff shrooms, very underrated. A lot of people don't seem to realise that you can't beat these night levels without them. So they are definitely in the high end of how good of a plant they are. And I just got my 750th dollar, so I can now go buy what Crazy Dave is going to sell to us, which we'll find out in the next episode. Oh, this is going to be a slightly longer episode. It looks like it's going to be just under 20 minutes. Oh yeah, and on the topic of work earlier, it's going to be a bit of a sad thing soon, because the majority of the people who work there are going to be going back to uni, so there's only going to be a few of us that remain there now. Because the way how the job works is we're very busy in summer. After summer though, it quietens down, so only those of us who will be around will still do the job, so the majority of people are actually going back to uni. Let's make it symmetrical. Okay, but with that level done, we got the Grave Buster, which I'll show off next time. But anyways, that is going to be the end of this episode, so thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.